way, 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 way better work-life balance. It gave me the time, the mental freedom, the time freedom to kind of focus more on myself. And as I began to focus more on myself, I began picking up better cooking and eating habits. I began doing a lot of research into holistic wellness, holistic nutrition.
Hey guys, it's your girl Boonie, and you're listening to episode 49 of the Boonie Breakdown podcast. The podcast where we sometimes cry, we always laugh, we might get a bit ratchet, but we're forever gonna break it down. This episode, I'm joined by Jeanette Curtis, a wellness coach who specializes in self-care issues for busy professional women, and in particular, women of color. Jeanette is also an attorney, writer, and a motivational speaker with over 10 years of experience in the health and wellness industry. And I'm telling you, the conversation we have is so great. And we really dive deep into how to put yourself first and the journey into wellness. And it's not going to be overnight. And we discuss all of that. And fellas, before you say, this podcast isn't for me, stop right there, keep listening. And I think many of the things that Jeanette and I discuss can be applied to your lives as well. So stay tuned for that conversation. Now it is time for Boonie's Pick of the Week. Why I felt compelled to say that, I don't know. I sung it. That's how it came out. That's what we're going to go with. But it really would be cute to have like a little jingle. You know, maybe I should put that on the to-do list. Anywho, the pick of the week is a vacation. While you guys are listening to this, I am probably just getting back from vacation. A little quick weekend getaway with the homegirl. But vacations are amazing. And I feel like I'm trying to get my stride back. 2015 and 2016, I had amazing travel years. At the end of 2016, guys know I had my emergency appendectomy, which used all my leave. So 2017, I was really on ice. I only went on one real vacation. I did quick little weekend things, but one real vacation. And so I'm hoping that 2018, I get my stride back. So a quick weekend getaway, we are blessed that we're able to allow those times to get away, and even doing staycations or hopping up for me, being on the East Coast in Baltimore, hopping up to New York or catching a quick flight to Florida. It's great. So that's my pick of the week. Hopefully you guys can go away soon, or you've been away, or you're planning amazing trips for the rest of 2018. And so now it's time for some housekeeping. I hope you guys have checked out episode 48. I had the homegirls Chrissy and Sheikah on, and we just had a really, really fun conversation. Somehow we started with the Kardashian Jenner clan and that rabbit hole, but we ended up talking about something that kind of ties into this, about also with wellness and protecting your space and your mental, and purging and making times for things that you want to make time for. So check that out after you listen to this episode. I think you will enjoy it. It has some laughs. You know how Chrissy and Sheikah are. Also, you guys, feel free to leave a review for the podcast. I know people are asking well, I listen to it on Spotify and I can't do that. You're right. You can't do that. But if you do not listen in Apple Podcasts, you can leave a review on our Facebook page. People can see them there as well. But of course, if you listen into Apple Podcasts, go ahead and hit that 5 stars. Type in a little review. I appreciate them. I don't know who the we is, but I definitely appreciate them. People who are looking to check out the podcast, they go read them and see what people say. And we got a new one in, and this is from Chris. Boonie is popping. Thanks, girl. The podcast is a must listen. Really. As simple as that. It doesn't have to be a long dissertation, but at least if you could just hit those 5 stars if you don't want to type something out. You guys know, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, The Boonie Breakdown. Follow us on Twitter, Boonie Breakdown. And make sure you use the hashtag, The Boonie Breakdown, and the hashtag PodIn when you're sharing the episode on social media. So that is it, guys. So let's get ready to break it down. All right, guys, it's your girl Boonie, and I'm excited for this episode. I have with me Jeanette Curtis, who is a wellness coach, and I hope to be a new fitness inspiration for all of us. So I want to welcome Jeanette to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Adrienne, and hello to the Boonie community. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm excited to have you on. I always keep saying, like, I feel like I need to come up with a name for like these people, like that you call them the Boonie community. I know people that's like,
Right.
Rihanna has the Navy, and I'm like, that would be
Right.
fun to come up with a fun name, but the creativity
Yeah,
hasn't struck me yet.
I know. Yeah, yeah. It will come. Like it'll just strike you at some
But
point.
it'll be like the perfect name. I know it will be.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I know that you are the creator and you're the founder of Busy Woman Wellness. And so I just kind of want to like start with our listeners, like, how did you find yourself getting into the wellness space and becoming a coach?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll start back kind of like way back. So growing up, I was always kind of like a student athlete. Beginning in middle school is when I started running track, and I ran hurdles, and I was a sprint hurdler, and I ran track all the way through high school and actually in undergraduate school and college. I ran
Mm.
sprint hurdles, and I also ran a couple relays at the University of Pennsylvania.
Okay, so we were an Ivy League athlete. Okay.
So fitness had always been a major part of my life. So I was always really familiar with, moving my body, different exercises, what it feels like to kind of be active and strong in the body. And so it's always been something that's been a part of my life. However, after I graduated from college, and I worked for a couple of years, and then I went on to law school and started working in the private law world at a private law firm, I realized that adulting and life will just completely like make you put your wellness practices on the back burner.
That is a word.
Oh my goodness. It was like I got through law school, and that's a manic kind of hectic experience. It can be for some students. For me, it was really kind of a stressful time in my life. It was, I wanted to throw myself into it. And then there's also a lot of pressure to do really well. And at that time in that particular job market, there was a lot of pressure to do well because you wanted to get a job and you wanted to get a good paying
Mhm.
job. So going through law school, I also had a traumatic event where I experienced the death of my mother, who
Mm.
passed away from colon cancer, which is very prevalent, particularly in the African American community for African Americans that are over the age of 50. So,
And that's such a relatable, touch point for people because so many of us know people who were affected or diagnosed with cancer in our families. And so sometimes that can be the catalyst for people to take their wellness seriously.
I had kind of um, like a wake up call when it came to looking at my health and realizing how important it is to take care of yourself. But even with that wake up call, I graduated from law school, I went into private practice, and I found that I was, working those billable hours, just kind of churning away, burning the midnight oil. And, I found myself at a place where I was 20 pounds overweight at
Mm.
least. My face was breaking out with all of this kind of cystic acne that would arise with different hormonal changes in my body. I wasn't eating well, I wasn't exercising, and I was developing sort of anxiety from the work pressures, but also from not having kind of dealt with certain grief that I
Mhm.
experienced and different events that I experienced after the passing of my mom. So I got to this place where, I remember very distinctly, I was in my little office at work, and it was probably like 11 o'clock at night, and I was just crying.
Oh,
Like, what? This is not the way it's supposed to
oh
be.
wow.
Not the way it's supposed to be. So, long story short, I, you know, as Instagram became more and more popular, I found myself following people who were really into the fitness world, who had these, beautifully sculpted bodies. And while, wellness doesn't mean, six pack and tone this and tone that. It does mean that you feel good in your physical being and in your mental being. And so having those people that I was looking to, it really began to inspire me to take my own wellness practices more seriously. And simultaneously, I met my boyfriend who was a fitness trainer, and he was really into that stuff. So it kind of also kind of inspired me and helped me to kind of shift my mindset a bit back onto my own wellness practices.
And so once you had like some type of, work life balance back, how did you get back into your wellness and exercise routine? Like, how did you, like, what were the things you did immediately to like jumpstart that back into your everyday routine?
I began tapping back into that fitness part of me that had always been there in terms of building out my own workout routines and getting back into lifting and running. And so I kind of made a huge shift, I want to say, over the course of 3 to 5 years. I started getting into therapy more, meditation, and other holistic practices that I've been picking them up over the years. And I kind of had this collection of things that I love to do. And I realized how important these things are to my life. I realized how they helping me make such a huge shift. And I just had this passion to want to share these things with other people. So it initially started with me sending unsolicited emails to my poor family members who would get these blasts like, "You can't eat these 10 things anymore. Stop eating these 10 things." Or, "Did you guys hear this? Did you know about that?" So I realized it's like, I've always had a really creative, coachy kind of spirit. I have a lot of enthusiastic energy. I love helping people. And so after kind of connecting with a group of girlfriends from undergrad who were also interested in entrepreneurial pursuits, we decided to start a little mastermind group, and we kind of all kind of have been chugging away together, where we just, we help keep each other accountable as we've been building out our businesses, and kind of just like pursuing our purposes and sharing our gifts with the world.
Oh my God, I love that. A mastermind group. And I actually have something similar with a group of, women in my life who were all trying to like push each other and motivate each other and keep us accountable as we work towards our goals. So I love, 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 love that.
Busy Woman Wellness actually started out as Busy Pro Balance,
Mm-hmm.
where I wanted to kind of reach busy professionals with different quick wellness tips, from everything from fitness to nutrition to mindfulness and emotional health. And then over this past year, and I'm going to wrap this up soon. Over this past year, I actually began having a couple of wellness issues related to uterine fibroids, and it kind of took me away.
So many women have that. Well,
So
so many
Adrian,
Black women.
so many women. Yes, it's kind of like it's just like an unspoken epidemic, and I guess because for the most part, a lot of women don't experience a ton of symptoms from them until maybe they're trying to get pregnant, or some other thing happens. I think because a lot of women have them without them really being a big burden.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a ton of medical kind of research or solutions around it outside of, surgery or, other kind of more invasive solutions. And so over the past year, I actually, starting, I want to say the beginning of last year, I began having issues with my fibroids that I'd never had before. I knew they were there, but they'd never caused me any issues. And so last year, they began to cause me issues. They'd grown significantly, and they were starting to cause me pain. And so I kind of stepped away from Busy Pro Balance for a while because I realized that I needed to put my own wellness first. So I began focusing on my own wellness practices and holistic ways to tend to the fibroids, which I've also been building kind of an arsenal of like wellness tips around that. And I'm in the process of shrinking them holistically.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so, but out of that, as I began to heal and the pain started to go away, I realized that like I really wanted to focus on issues that are that target busy women in particular. I wanted to focus more on women's issues, and in particular women issues that speak to women of color. So that's kind of how the progression of where I got into the coaching training wellness world. And it's definitely been an evolution. I'm very much in the beginning of the journey. But it's absolutely been kind of a pleasure and a lot of fun and a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun, just kind of building out this vision.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And I wrote down like a few things like while you were talking. And I think the one thing that stood out that I feel like a lot of people, you know, we live in this day and age where we want instant gratification and we want, to drop 40 pounds in
Mm,
20 days and to have a six
mm-hmm.
pack overnight. And you said it took you 3 to 5 years in your wellness
Mm-hmm.
journey. And so I just thought that was awesome to hear someone say that it was over a
Yeah.
long period of time. It wasn't just like,
Yeah.
oh, I went to Whole Foods and got chicken breast and brown rice and a Planet
Mm-hmm.
Fitness membership and that was it.
Exactly. It's so important to highlight that, and thank you for bringing that out, because I think that in this, like you said, in this day and age where you've got social media and everybody's showing you their highlight reels, and all you see is like six pack, fit body, this and that and the other, and to be honest, a lot of those images, they're all curated, right?
Mhm.
So people are tweaking them a bit. Sometimes you just never really know if what you're looking at is real, and so it can kind of skew us into this misrepresented reality, and it can kind of distract us from what is actually really important, which is, how do you feel in your body? Do you feel
Exactly.
strong in your being? Where is your mind at? Where is your spirit at? What are you putting into your body? And so I think that when people begin to focus more on, how am I doing in my being, that's when they can actually latch onto some more consistency in their healthy routines. But when you focus on things like weight loss, dropping pounds, and trying to get some sculpted abs or something like that, it's very easy to kind of get distracted or disheartened or
It
discouraged or
really
fall.
it really is. And I was talking to a friend recently who was saying she wanted to lose weight and she was talking to a professional about it. And every time she said that, they were like, why? Like,
Mm,
why? Like, why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Like, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that?
mm,
And she said that she kept getting annoyed by it, but that the person was trying to like get out of her and saying, like, once you find the right reason why, everything else will be easy. If you're just saying, like, oh,
mhm,
I just wanted to flex on Instagram, then you
mhm,
aren't going to do it, or nor are you going to sustain it, because once you take that picture that gets the 400 likes, then it's
mhm.
gone. Like, you're like, all right, I did it. But she was like, when you
Yeah,
commit to it for the right reason, everything
yeah.
else falls in place. And I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Exactly. And I try to tell people this, like, it's a lifestyle change. And when I think about my life, I spent, several years being in fitness and running track and being an athlete. But then I spent probably about 6 or 7 or 8 years not tending to my well-being. And so the same amount of time that kind of took me to fall into that rut, it takes a significant amount of time to kind of rise up out of it, because you're building habits, and habits take time. And
Mhm.
it's good. It's important to be gentle with yourself during that process, because that 3 to 5 years was a matter of me going up, down, up, down, up, down. And then I began to go, latch onto some consistency more and more. And I want to say, honestly, within the past year, I've hit a stronger stride. So it really is, it's truly a process.
Yeah, and I also like that it wasn't just like I went to the gym and I did, proper nutrition. You also mentioned meditation, which I've
Mm-hmm.
recently become a fan of, like in the last 6 months, and therapy,
Mm-hmm.
which God, I've been doing that for a long time. So, but
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
the wholeness part of wellness that, and I feel like people get so caught up sometimes on just the
Yeah.
physical part, but how you feel mentally and spiritually also affects what's happening
Oh,
within your body.
yeah, honestly, Adrienne, I'm learning more and more that, like, the most important part is where you are in your head, where you are in your spirit, your soul. And if those things are not well aligned, if those things do not have peace, that's usually where the issue comes with not having a consistent movement or fitness kind of
Mm-hmm.
routine, or not having a consistent eating routine, because oftentimes we'll use kind of lack of movement or exercise, or we'll use sweet and salty craving foods to address something that's deeper.
Yes.
Um, so you're right, you're spot on. It's like, the holistic approach is so important, but the holistic approach, I mean, it's simple, it's straightforward, but it requires a commitment, and it requires a commitment,
It does.
So
And
yeah,
I
it's not easy, but it's simple.
yeah, and I think I had like I've said this in the podcast before, but I had gotten a trainer and I had committed to it, and I was going to her like, 2 times a week, and I was going to the
Mm-hmm.
gym on my own. And then I had an emergency surgery like the end of
Mm-hmm.
2016. And I totally used that as an excuse all of 2017. Like I could not work out in the beginning of 2017,
Mm-hmm.
but it carried through the whole year. And then
Mm-hmm.
to like talking it out and getting to like, why did you retreat back? Like you were doing so good. You liked working out. You liked lifting weights. Like, why did you let
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
one thing become an excuse that went through almost like it was like 15 months where you just didn't do anything? And now
Yeah.
it's like I'm starting over. And so I had to
Yeah.
go back to like finding that why, like why.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the reason that
Yeah.
I came up with was like, oh, yeah, girl, you gotta you gotta do something else. But like it's just
Yeah.
like how all of that plays a part into the little things that prevent you
Yeah.
from having commitment or consistency to your,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah, and I love it because one of the things I do love about wellness and the process of it, which the process can be frustrating because, like you as you've seen, you can be on the wagon and in a good rhythm, and then you can fall out of that rhythm. And one of the things I try to share with the clients I've worked with is it's so important to give yourself, and this is a Lisa Nichols quote, 1,000 second chances. So, I think sometimes when we fall off the wagon, we get so down on ourselves, or we just kind of, like just throw it all away. Like, gosh, I fell out, just forget it. I got to start all over. It's that act of starting all over that kind of deters people from, restarting again. But it's this mentality that I also try to feed into myself, is that, like, no matter what, I can always restart. Any moment you can begin again with the smallest, simplest
yes,
practice or exercise or meditation or therapy session, whatever it is that gets you started. So just, giving that concept of kind of giving yourself 1,000 second chances, even if you got to restart every Monday, you got to restart, by the end of the week you fall off, but slowly but surely it will be, those falling off the wagon kind of happen less and less. Is what I'm trying to
it's
say.
true. Like once you
Yeah.
get into the rhythm and then you feel better, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to stay with it. And so like I guess like what is like maybe a one or two tips that you could give someone that are kind of like actionable items, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
to like build the habit of becoming a gym goer, or even just making the time to carve out like 30 to 40 minutes just to go to the gym.
Yeah. So I'm actually gonna crib off of one of the things that you said, but so, like, one really simple quick action item is right now, if you're listening to this message or wherever you are, just identify one reason why you want to begin moving your body, why you want to go to the gym, why you want to eat better, whatever it is you want to do in service of yourself. Just take a moment right now, close your eyes, and consider, what is it? What is it that's calling me to even want to do this? Is it because I
Mm.
feel sluggish and my energy is low? Is it because my face is breaking out and I don't know how to control it? Is it because I have this extra weight and I just don't feel great in my body? Is it because I have kids and I want to make sure that, I'm there to be there for them and healthy for them through the duration of their life? Whatever it is, just take a moment and close your eyes and hone in on one, two reasons for why you want to begin this new practice. And then recognize that this is a journey and this is a practice. So practice means, you're not an expert. None of us are experts. Not even the experts are experts. We're all evolving along this journey. So just recognize it as something that you have to try, you have to try, you have to try again. So just that one, taking that moment to kind of identify the why and being aware of, this new thing you're starting as a practice. And then the second part is really easy. I mean, just keep it simple. I think sometimes we try to find the right workout plan. What is the best workout plan that I can possibly be doing right now? What's the best workout out there? What's the best diet that's out there? What's going to de-stress me the fastest? And really, I think that before you get to that step of kind of having these curated plans or specialized plans, I think it's important to just keep it simple. And so when I look at it from a holistic standpoint and I talk about keeping it simple, if I look at the movement or the exercise prong of it, doing something as simple as establishing a 15-minute a day rule. For 15 minutes every day, I'm going to move my body in the simplest way. I did not intend for that to rhyme.
You have to put it on a t-shirt now.
Right. But for 15 minutes every day, pick one thing. It could be a walk outside. It could be a walk up and down the stairs. It could be stretching in whatever stretches you know how to do. It could be getting on a treadmill. It does not have to be perfect. It just has to be something to move your body. As human beings, we were not intended to sit at our desks all day or sit on bus, sit in cars. We were out there moving, hunters, gathering, bending, stooping, reaching. So movement is innate to our body. Our bodies need it. And when the body is stagnant, studies have shown that it's susceptible and more prone to all types of diseases. So just take 15 minutes a day and do it consistently, establishing a 15 minutes a day, moving your body. Anyway, that's the first prong, movement. Nutrition, again, it's another area that tends to perplex people because there's so much information out there. But the rule that I try to share with people the most is the only thing you need to know is try your best to 90% of the time eat real foods. So when I talk about real foods, I mean super simple, right? I think there are a lot of plans and diets that, they can be overwhelming because they have all these parameters around them, and rules. And so I think if you just start from the standpoint of eating real foods, and when I say real foods, I mean things that have grown out of the ground, things that have fallen off of a tree, or things that come from a healthy organic animal source if you eat meat. So that's the nutritional prong. Just start by trying to incorporate real foods into your diet. Eat real foods, yeah. And then looking at the third prong, which is what I consider from kind of a holistic approach, the third prong would be your mental, emotional, spiritual health. And this is something that maybe you put off, you've kind of gotten into the groove of the first two prongs, but finding a way to, again, 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, spending some time in service of your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And that could be as simple as sitting still and quiet for 5 minutes, just to take a deep breath, just to breathe. Yes. I don't think we realize how much our breathing is we're holding our breath, we're breathing fast. It's just just taking a moment to breathe.
And it was so funny because I have an Apple Watch and it does that breathe. It taps you to breathe.
Oh, does it? Oh, I didn't know that.
What? And at first it was so annoying to me. Stop telling me to breathe, stop. And I remember I turned it off for a minute. But then the work situation in my 9 to 5 became a little and I remember I turned it back on once I started meditating.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I appreciate this little built-in feature, Apple.
Yeah.
It just breathe. And it does a little exercise and it taps you inhale and then it'll be exhale. And it does it for a minute, I think.
What? I need to get an Apple Watch now. Amazon Prime. Are they on there?
Right. But that little exercise, and it's only a minute, sometimes really just helps.
Isn't it great? You just don't even breathing. I wasn't aware of the whole breathing thing. I think I thought it was overrated up until a couple of years ago when I began getting deeper into my meditation practices. But honestly, just pausing every once in a while to check in with yourself and say, how am I doing? How am I feeling right now? Where's my tension in my body? And taking a moment to and relax. It helps. It goes a really long way. So
and I have because I apps. Like I have another app
Mm-hmm.
on my phone. I think it's called Centered. And that's
Mm.
all it does. I think it's through my health insurance, honestly, I think now that I think
Oh,
about it.
okay. I'm gonna have to
But
check that out.
um it'll ask you like your last mood, like how are you feeling? And
Mm-hmm.
so they'll send like a little, I think I have, you can set that like how often they like do a notification. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like, tell us how you're like, how are you feeling right now? And you're like,
Okay.
oh, yeah, like right now I'm angry or I'm relaxed.
Yeah, I
But
love
it's like
that.
the simplest little app, or like stress, but it keeps track of that
Mm-hmm.
um with your mindful minutes. Like it has some like little meditations built in as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's through my health insurance.
I like that because it honestly it makes you stop and pause and check in with yourself. And I think we're so externally charged all day.
Mhm.
There's so many things that are calling our attention all day that we forget to just go inward for a moment. So those are really my tips. Just one, identify the reason behind why you want to kind of start these new practices and get clear on the fact that this is a practice that you're going to be trying and practicing for the rest of your life. And then two, keeping it simple by finding a small way to consistently build in a movement routine, to focus on eating real foods, and to spend at least 10 or 15 minutes a day checking in with yourself, to just check in with your mental, emotional, and spiritual being part of yourself.
I like it. And so your top 3 wellness purchases that you would say.
Ooh, that's hard because there's Amazon, as we discussed before,
Yes,
and
it's
because
trouble.
I it's spend too much money on wellness stuff. Like I buy too much stuff. So I would say, so every at the end of every year, I come up with a list on my blog of like my 10 or so most amazing wellness purchases of the year. So I'll give a few, try to pull from there. So one of the things that I bought last year was a whiteboard. Um,
Mm.
a whiteboard magnet that sits on my refrigerator. And it has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, blocks on it. And so on Sunday every week, I sit there and I write out 3 wellness items that I want to be clear on and target for each day. So it's usually, I want to make sure I take my vitamins and my herbal supplementation. I want to get in whatever workout I have planned for that day.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at it right now. It's something else that I forget. But I'll write 2 or 3 things per day that I want to focus on with respect to my wellness, and they're not huge things, but it helps me to just stay aware of it, and it makes me feel good at the end of the day when I can actually check them off, or it keeps me accountable and honest about if I'm actually doing those things from week to week. And at the end of the week, I just erase the whiteboard and I start all over again for the next week. So that's one thing that helps me stay accountable. It's this whiteboard magnet, and I can give you the link to that if
Okay.
you want to share it. Another thing that I love, because I am a huge proponent of smoothies, is my NutriBullet blender. I think that a lot of times when we think about eating healthy and eating clean, there are a lot of maybe foods out there that aren't our favorites. And there are some really delicious ways to incorporate natural herbs that have healing properties like cilantro
Uh,
and parsley, or maca powder for hormonal balance. There are a lot of ways to just incorporate those things into cleansing, delicious smoothies, which is what I'm currently focusing on
oh,
my
nice.
platform. So I really love the NutriBullet blender because I mean, like that thing, I put that thing to use. It's like it really blends smoothies really well, and I can give you the link to that. And then I guess one thing also from last year, wellness purchases, is I'm really into. I love reading the whole wellness and self-help books. So one of the books that I have probably gifted to people the most is called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Huh, Miracle Morning. Okay.
It's fantastic. It's a
Okay.
really short, quick read. It's super entertaining. The author is really, funny. He lays everything out in a really, engaging way. But basically, the book goes through um, different practices that over the course of his life, the author realized were really important to have in a solid morning routine. Because if you think about it, what you how your day starts in your morning can really dictate the tone of the rest of your day. So if you're in the
Yes.
morning, you head outside, you run into someone bumps into you on the train, your whole day might be kind of jacked up a little bit because of the rush and then that subsequent incident. So the Miracle Morning really helps people to kind of build out a set of practices that you can do in the morning to help you set your strong tone and intention for the day. And when I read that book, changed my life. So, and I've gifted it probably like 20 times to people. So I highly recommend it if you're looking for a way to just kind of get yourself started, get yourself grounded and centered.
Well, now it's my time to go on Amazon.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
I'll check that out. It's funny because you mentioned wellness books, and right now I'm reading Own Your Glow by what's her name? Latham Thomas.
Okay.
So I kept seeing the book on Instagram and I started following her. She's the Glow Maven.
Yes, I'm
And
familiar. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and so she just put out like another book and I brought it. It's really pretty because it's like hot pink and gold foil. And so I'm like
Ooh.
working my way through it. Like it's good stuff in there. Like, and sometimes you know how you read some of these books and it's like, oh my God, duh.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
and it's like, it's not like groundbreaking stuff, but it's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Like, why wasn't I doing this before I read it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I kind of feel like it's a good read though. I can't say that I recommend it yet because I haven't finished it. But
Okay.
what I've read so far, I really do enjoy some of the stuff she said. So
Well, I have it on my list of things to look into that I'm making based on our conversation. You've got
as
the
I'm
centered
writing
app,
too.
Own Your Glow. I might make that T-shirt you said I should make.
Look, everybody's in the t-shirt business now, so
Right,
I'm like, get
exactly.
your
Yeah.
get your coins too.
Hello. Yep.
Oh, and I said that because it was I can't remember the episode number. I want to say like episode 18 or 19 of the podcast. I had on Larissa and she talked about, wine tips and she's Lotus in the Vines. And she was like,
Mm.
her little tagline was wine is your passport to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
I
oh my
love
God, you
that.
totally have to do that on a t-shirt. And now she sells those on t-shirts.
I love that. Love it. Love it. Love it.
So
Yeah.
that's a little sidebar. But totally. Who are your fitness and or wellness inspirations?
Oh, that's another hard one. So there's so many. Okay, so for sure in the fitness world, I love following. Her name is Massey Arias, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard from her. She has millions of Instagram followers, but her story is really powerful. She went from kind of having eating disorder and kind of body image issues to building out. She's this beautiful, strong woman, and her platform is really inspirational, awesome. She's always posting really great fitness tips and exercises and motivation. So I think I will send you her Instagram handle.
Okay.
But it should be Massey Arias. Another one of my inspirations is her name is Tara Brock. She is a mindfulness meditation instructor slash guru, and she has some of the best guided meditations. I just really enjoy her guided meditations. She has a podcast where you can go on and listen to her 20-minute guided meditations. She also does these kind of spirit thought talks that are in alignment with Buddhist practices. And so I have a couple books by her, one called Radical Acceptance that I really treasure. This book. It's another amazing read. It's deep. And I've had so many golden nuggets come out of it. But Tara Brock, she's also on Instagram and she has a podcast. And then I'm trying to think, who would you said three? I'm trying to think of who else I really love following. Another person I love following. Her name is Kaisa Fit. I'll give you the.
Oh, I've heard of her, I believe.
Yeah. She's also a former track and field athlete, and the reason I love following her is because even though she has kind of sculpted this beautiful, amazing, strong body, she makes it very clear to her audience that she wants to help people move their body more. She's not worried about your six pack. She's not worried about losing weight. She wants you to get your butt up and move. And so like, you know, on her page, you'll see she's got all these exercises where she's jumping around and, you know, she's really inspirational because she's so consistent in her message. And I love that message that we're not focusing on, I'm not here to give you some 30-day weight loss plan. I'm here to help you change your life. So she's another really inspirational one, and there's tons of others, but so I will leave it at that.
Gotcha. No, I like it. The practical advice and inspiration.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you always have in your gym bag that you recommend other people do too?
Always in my gym bag. So I always have water, that's for sure. I guess that's kind of a given. But another item that I really love, and I actually keep them in my office at work as well, are resistance bands, resistance loop bands, or resistance bands. So they're the kind of like, they look like thick rubber bands that you can use. There's just several different exercises that you can do, even if you're not at the gym, to kind of strengthen your body. Release tension in the muscles. That really, really helps. It's super mobile. You can take it with you if you're traveling. You can have it in your office. You can have it in the home. So resistance loop bands. And I can get you a link for that too.
Resistant loop bands. Okay. So I want to do something. You guys know this is a new segment on the podcast. We're calling it The Breakdown. And so, Jeanette, I am going to say one word.
Okay.
And I want you just to say the first thing. It might be a phrase, maybe. I think one is a phrase. Okay. So, and I want you to say like the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
So, the first word.
I'm ready.
Burpees.
Oh, full body.
Oh, you didn't even say anything bad. That's how I
know
you love to work out.
Bad?
No, you didn't have to. But normally I would have been like death.
You know what? Honestly, I should have said hate them because I also do not enjoy doing burpees, and I rarely do burpees in my workout. but I just thought, it's a full body move.
Love the positive spirits. We're gonna go with it.
Okay, awesome.
Kale.
I prefer spinach.
Gotcha. Oh my God. Self-care.
Love it. So important.
Yoga.
Love it. I say the same thing over again. I'm terrible with these kind of spontaneous things. It's essential.
This is funny. Flat tummy detox tea.
Questionable. Questionable. There's so many of them out there. I do not knock them at all, but I think that people just really have to be clear on there's no tea in this world that's just going to give you a flat tummy. It's a practice of the nutrition, the fitness, the managing your emotional, spiritual health. That's going to get the flat tummy.
Don't we all wish there was just something
I know.
We could drink?
I wish.
Do all of the work.
Seriously.
Meal prep.
Oh. Time saver. It takes time, but it's a time saver. All throughout the week, and money saver. I know I'm only supposed to provide one word, right? Just totally screwing this thing up.
Okay. And the last one, smoothies.
Love them. My favorite. And I actually have a special smoothie gift for your audience. So
let's buy what. So what are we getting?
So I'm really excited to share this with y'all. I launched my first 7-day Start Strong Smoothie Detox program in January, and it was an absolute hit. And there were 2 smoothies that everyone loved, and these are actually smoothies that will help you kind of cleanse your digestive tract and de-bloat and kind of reboot your energy. So I'm sharing with your audience what I'm now calling my smoothie snapback set. 2 delicious cleansing smoothies that are going to help you say goodbye to bloating. And you all can get that at www.busywomanwellness.com/Boonie.
Yes. So that's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that resource. And I will put a link to that, guys, on the show notes. You can find it there. You can also find it on the booniebreakdown.com. So thanks, Jeanette, for that.
Yes.
And can you tell everyone where they can find you on the internet and on social media?
Yeah, so I hang out the most on Instagram, and so you can find me at Busy Woman Wellness. That's woman with an A. I'm also online at busywomanwellness.com. That's again, woman with an A. And yeah, I'm most accessible there.
Awesome. So again, thank you for coming on the podcast. And I hope that you guys listening, you got some good inspiration and some tips, or you're inspired to recommit yourself to yourself in your wellness journey. So thanks again, Jeanette.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. And thank you so much to all the Boonie listeners. I really appreciate it.
Thank you to Jeanette for dropping in on the podcast this week and inspiring us all to recommit to ourselves and the journey to wellness and wholeness. So thanks again, Jeanette. And don't forget to grab her free smoothie recipes. The link is in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to listen to others and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play, or any app that you love to listen to your podcast on. Don't forget to leave us a review. You might hear it on the next episode. Follow us on social media. Share the episode with everyone you love. People you don't love, I don't make those pretty images for nothing. Have a dope-ass week. Thank you for listening. Until next time.